The following is a transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. 25th February 2021, Pluto. Me. And speaking of satellites that give life, we also find the satellites that kill. Why has Pluto ceased to be called a planet and is even considered more of a satellite than a world itself? I am. First, let's look at what a satellite means. The word satellite comes from Etruscan and has been taken from Latin, pronouncing sateles, satellites, when referring to the courtiers or guards of a king or prince. This was the name by which the bodyguards of someone important were known, who accompanied this main person all the time in the royal court. This led to the stellar description, when worlds were taken as gods. Thus, the rocks that accompany and surround them all the time were considered their guardians or escorts, that is, satellites. Me. Now I understand it better. Because we usually say satellites only to human-made machines that fly around the planet, but we don't usually recognize that the moon is a satellite, and what the other planets possess are satellites, not moons. I am. As we said yesterday, our Earth satellite is called the moon. Mars has 2 satellites, Phobos and Deimos. Jupiter has about 79 satellites, of which the most important are Europa, Io, Ganymede, and Callisto. Although Saturn surpasses all, with a total of 82 satellites on average, the most important and striking are Titan, Enceladus, Mimas, Tethys, Dione, Iapetus, and Rhea. Me. 82? I am. Well, it's a very big planet, not counting the millions of rocks that make up its famous rings. Beyond, Uranus has about 27, being Umbriel, Titania, Oberon, Ariel, and Miranda the most important. Neptune has 14, of which Triton and Thalassa are the ones that stand out. And Pluto, at the end of it all, has 5, although 4 of them are just rocks, and 1 is especially striking. Me. Charon. I am. Charon is about 3 times smaller than Pluto, but still it is the largest satellite relative to the planet it is circulating. Well, if we can call them planet and satellite. Me. Why? I am. Because Pluto has a rather strange and peculiar orbit. For a planet to be considered as such, it must have a fixed orbit around the surrounding star, and this is not the case with Pluto. Its elliptical orbit is so elongated that it intersects with the orbit of Neptune, being at certain times of the year the 8th planet of the solar system and sometimes the 9th, giving the position to Neptune of the last planet of the solar system, the 9th, and returning the rest of the year to its position number 8. Neptune does not move from its orbit, but Pluto does. And not only that, but it also has a short orbit on an invisible point, as if it were a satellite of a non-existent axis. Me. How can this be possible? I am. It is because of Charon's strength. This satellite is only 19,640 kilometers from Pluto. To understand this, imagine that the moon was about 4 times larger and was about 19 times closer, being able to see it the size of a tennis ball in the sky. Me. Pretty big, really. I am. The force of the moon's gravity would push the Earth so powerfully that it would take it out of its orbit and drag it with it in a kind of dance in which both stars would move with an invisible axis between them. This is how Charon and Pluto dance. For this reason, after the discovery of Pluto in 1930, it was called planet, but a few decades later, due to these irregularities, it was considered planetoid, the largest of a group of loose stars in the confines of the solar system called Plutoids in his honor. Like Uranus, this planetoid rotates with a twisted axis at about 120 degrees, compared to the Earth that does it at only 23 degrees. This positions north of Pluto in the equatorial zone, making a complete rotation in a little more than 6 Earth days. Me. It must be the coldest planet in the solar system. I am. Well, its remoteness from the sun means that light affects it little, about 230 degrees Celsius below zero on average. Light takes about 5.5 hours to reach Pluto from the sun, and it would take a little over 9 years for a human. Although we could not do anything there because it is not only a frozen world, but also too small. Me. How small? I am. Quite. More than the moon. If you extend a planisphere of Pluto over the Earth, it would cover only the territory of the United States, and Charon would extend throughout the territory of Alaska. Me. So they can practically not affect us. I am. Well, its effect is quite subtle, but still shocking. Pluto is named after the Roman god of the underworld, whose Greek equivalent is Hades. Guardian of the underworld, it is also the custodian of all the minerals that hide under the earth, which makes it the richest being in the divine pantheon, hence its name Pluto, which in Greek, plautos means wealth, abundance. Me. That's why the government of the rich is called plutocracy, isn't it? I am. That's right. Pluto is the richest of the rich, custodian of the mineral world, king of hell, symbol of death, where all corpses end up at death, under the earth. In Greek tradition, it was believed that when a person died, he should cross the river Acheron and thus reach the world of the dead. But to achieve this, they had to be transferred to the other shore by Charon, the ferryman of Hades, who asked for a coin to do the service. For this reason, Greeks and Romans placed a coin under the tongue of the deceased, so that they would have a way to pay him. If they had no coins, Charon would retain them for a century before passing them on for free. Me. Tragic. So, Hades and Charon, or Pluto and Charon, have always gone together, and they represent the guardians of the underworld, custodians of the dead. I am. And this is where this planet, or binary planetoids, influences our subconscious, in death. As we have said before, the greater the distance from the sun, the more subtle is what affects the presence of a world in our lives. And because of Pluto's location on the threshold of the solar system, it represents the end, which sometimes intersects with the soul's subconscious, Neptune's eternal reverie. That end is the crisis, the sudden change, the break, the end of something that keeps us attached to life, to the light of the sun. Thus, Pluto and Charon welcome death as a process of expansion into outer space, outside the attachment of solar gravity, towards the universe itself. Me. Does it represent, then, physical death? I am. No, it represents the subtle death, the force of the innermost shadows that pulse to the great transformation, to the way you live the changes. The presence of Pluto announces the way you will live the changes in your life, detachment, death, and resurrection. There is no escape from its undeniable strength, for all life is going towards change. Every organism tends to die. Pluto reminds you that changes are inevitable and that they are necessary, for there is no conception without orgasm. There is no life without birth, no growth without effort, no learning without error, no evolution without crisis, no death without life. Pluto is the presence that shows beauty in the shadow, in the occult. It is impossible to see him in the sky like everyone else. Pluto is invisible to our earthly eyes. It is hidden in darkness, and you cannot be sure when it will appear in your life. It is the unexpected. That is why it is the king of crises, of disease in the sense of stopping, of reviewing what has been done to start again. Me. Pluto takes me to the revision of my shadows, to be able to create. Is this why we speak of this world in the sacral chakra? I am. Well, the sacrum is where the duality of this binary system of planetoids speaks of polarity, of balance in creation, manifestation. The sacral chakra contains the Plutonian and Scorpio organs, where everything that was seen with the light passes into the deepest of shadows, where the essence is absorbed. There, the lowest energies are hidden. It is the underworld of the physical body. It is the death of what entered you. It is the center that makes some pass to heaven, to the organism through the bloodstream, or to hell, to be compressed as fecal matter in the large intestine. And it is the same energy of dissolution and death that translates as transformation, because it is the one who obtains something with a form, to dissolve it and generate a new one with a new utility and purpose, making it pass the crisis that makes it something surpassing and transcendental. Thus, this chakra in turn is related to creation, as life is reborn from the shadows. What dies nourishes life, transcends it, creating a new being in the womb or in every cell that feeds on your body. Me. Life is born of death. I am. Its reincarnation. You yourself have died and been born many times, and you know it. You remember it. It is Pluto's energy that reminds you that it is possible to return after its judgment, that it is its presence that drives you to transform into something new. Me. We all deny Pluto. Even today we say that it is no longer a planet, that it no longer matters, as if cataloging it in one way or another does not have the presence it has in the same way. I am. Whether it's a planet or a satellite, whether it's a binary system or a simple stray rock orbiting irregularly around the sun, its position is the limit, reminding us that everything that begins ends, and that everything that ends is the seed of a new beginning. Me. Therefore, it reminds me that if what I seek is to truly transform myself, I must allow myself to die. Only in this way will I be able to be reborn. I am. But attachment to the sun, to the light, keeps us bound to what does us good, what makes us what we are today, clinging to this existence, feeling that limits are protection, making a prison a home. And yet, attached, bound, we continue to cry out for a change, which can only be given by the force of Pluto, who will not warn when it arrives, and will destroy who you are, to allow you to be real. Me. To renew oneself, it is necessary to let go of the old. To be reborn, it is necessary to let oneself die. And if I do, on the other side I will find the riches that hid beneath my shadows. I am. Are you ready to die? Me. Yes, I am ready to be born.